showing pictures of my ridiculously cute family. Right? That is my wife, Raina. She is a BC ABA and a licensed mental health counselor, which means she outranks me. In the middle is our youngest son, Cooper. He is 9 years old, and Preston there is 11. They are the perfect children because they are raised by two behavior analysts. They have never spoken out of turn. They have only brought home perfect grades. They are by far the best athletes in their class. They were toilet trained at 7 weeks old. And of course I'm lying. They do everything everybody else does. We experience the same joys, the same highs, the same lows as every single person in this room. Well, I was pretty excited when Kim and our team at CARD had asked me to come here. I'm like, I get to keynote the CARD conference. It's something I would have begged to do when they asked me. I was very, very moved and very, very touched. And then it turned into what my life is, which is I am someone's brother. I am an identical twin, as you can see. And the Beta Club conference happened to be here. So while I'm thinking I'm going to be important and wearing a suit for the first time in years and what have you, I had high school students running around wanting to take pictures with me because they know my twin brother. I'm kind of like a circus sideshow. This is not unusual for me. It's oftentimes people confuse me for people. I can say, who is a bald behavior analyst? And some of you guys think, oh, maybe Kevin Jackson, or Chad Kinney, or Tim Courtney. So give you a qualifier and say, well, who's the brilliant bald behavior analyst? People say, Ed Blakely. So I have to give qualifiers like, who's the brilliant, ultra-sexy, devastatingly handsome behavior analyst speaking to you today? And that, of course, will produce me. You guys, we're here to talk about behavior analysis and talk a little bit about the history of ABA and the history of autism, how we have grown together, how we have somewhat drifted apart, and how we desperately need one another. In the beginning, okay, it was a fairly harmonious, mutually reinforcing relationship. And here's the timeline with the blue line representing autism and the red line representing applied behavior analysis. In 1938, B.F. Skinner started our field with the publication of a book called The Behavior of Organisms. Many of you guys know that in 1943 and 44, Hans Asperger and Leo Kanner coined the term autism when they noticed a subset of children diagnosed with childhood schizophrenia as uniquely different. In 1965, Bernie Rimland, Eric Schopler, and one of my mentors, Ruth Sullivan, started the Autism Society of America. It was 3 years later that our seminal journal in our field, the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis, was first published. In 1998, the Behavior Analyst Certification Board was established, certifying behavior analysis as a separate and distinct profession. And in 2005, one of the most powerful and influential organizations in autism, Autism Speaks, was founded by Bob and Suzanne Wright. So again, we've had this wonderfully mutually reinforcing relationship. Back in the 1950s and 60s, when people were saying children with autism cannot learn, they cannot go to school, they are not capable, you all who are parents and teachers said, yes, they can. And behavior analysts said, you're right, we will back you up on this. We will do the studies, we will show that what you are saying is true, that individuals with autism are inherently capable of learning, no matter how severe the level of cognitive impairment. It culminated in no less than an endorsement from the Surgeon General of the United States of America in 1999. The Surgeon General said 30 years of research demonstrated the efficacy of applied behavioral methods in reducing inappropriate behavior and increasing communication, learning, and appropriate social behavior. Unfortunately, there are bumps in the road. While we are doing behavioral science, while educators and parents are advocating for the needs and rights of individuals in the autism spectrum, we have people coming along and saying, oh, let's blame who we can blame. And the easiest target, and you guys all know this, aside from minorities, is moms. Okay? So it's mothers who are responsible. We allow psychoanalytic theory, which is not science, to sit there and say that the reason the child was autistic was because that child was retreating into his inner world because of the cold indifference they feel from their mother. How deplorable and awful was Bruno Bettelheim. In the mid-1980s, mid to mid-1990s, we had a rampant increase in facilitated communication, which said that autism was essentially an issue of apraxia. People were completely cognitively intact and just couldn't get the words out. We know what this led to. It eventually led to accusations of physical and sexual abuse against not only teachers, but parents. We had, of course, secretin and chelation happen within the 90s. And of course, the thing that started in the 2000s that's been pretty prominent is the use of different types of diets and hyperbaric chambers and all kinds of other treatments that they're offering all of you who are desperate for help. We've gone away from our little harmonious relationship, and during this time, what I call it is the deification of the doctor or the deification of the doctorate. Okay? People come to us all the time with their credentials, and they will say to you, I have a cure for you. I will make your situation better. It is not about rolling up your sleeves. It is not about doing the hard work. It's simply about taking this pill or doing this treatment. Okay? Meanwhile, very little data to back it up. The fact of the matter, too, is one of the reasons we've grown apart is because, much like the Tower of Babel, it's Sunday, so I thought I'd do a little sermon-esque preaching here for you guys. We do speak different languages. Our field, our science has advanced, and consequently we have adopted a great deal of jargon. Behavioral jargon, wonderful in a behavioral conference, not all that helpful in an IEP. But we do speak different languages. And at the same time, parents were speaking different languages because once parents got and teachers got these children into school, once they established their rights, they started looking at the big picture. You guys, let's admit what a behavior analyst is. We look at small gains and small picture stuff. You guys who are parents and teachers are looking at the big picture. You're looking at the totality of the child's life. We're looking at a very, very small piece of it. So we speak a different language. Now, applied behavior analysis doesn't just doesn't have problems because we talk too much, but we're never necessarily at the forefront, okay? The Sunrise program brought surfer Laird Hamilton in, and this is advancing too quickly, brought in Laird Hamilton as their speaker. You're welcome, ladies, okay? Gentlemen, you're welcome. Jenny McCarthy, of course, has been on Oprah and every place else discussing many of her theories, cures about autism, and she speaks largely for the anti-vaccination CF combination. And who speaks for the behavior analyst? Is it a handsome, resplendent, 45-year-old, bald-headed gentleman? No. It's B.F. Skinner. And B.F. Skinner has been dead for 26 years. Lag behind a little bit. But, you guys know what this is, right? It's a very big butt. Oh. And I like big butts, and I cannot lie. All right. But what do we bring to the table? And it's all talk about cures and everything. What do we bring to the table? We bring to you guys data. Yeah. And let's just admit it. Data is not sexy. It's not attractive. It's not a impassioned argument, right? It's a very small look at what's going on with the individual. It's a critically important one, but it's just a small glimpse. So the question is, can we engineer behavior? Can we get past this and we can go back to where we were back in the 50s and 60s where we said, we're going to improve the lives of other people. We are going to try to redeem this social condition and try to make the quality of a person's life better, because that's what it's all about. Well, maybe. Okay. You guys know about ABCs, right? Oh, and yeah, simple ABC sequences of behavior. That if we can just do what behavior analysts do, which is look at behavior with respect to the antecedents, the behaviors, and the consequences, we can fundamentally change behavior. I actually do believe that. But behavior is so much more complicated than that. In the consideration of a single behavior in which a human being engages in, you have to account for the antecedents, the behaviors, and consequences. That's fairly complicated. Looking at three things: the immediate things that happen before behavior, the behavior itself, what it looks like, and the consequences that follow it. Yeah, we could do that. Well, let's also take into account the overriding, existing, motivating operations, those fluctuating states of deprivation and excess that are changing with us all, whether we're thirsty, hungry, or full, okay? Whether we're deprived of someone's attention or we've had too much of it, whether there's too little sensory involvement or too much, okay? Motivation's always changing. Then we have to account for the fact that maybe those antecedents in the environment signal reinforcers are available. But at the same time a reinforcer is available, a punisher might be available. And if punishers and reinforcers are all available, sometimes are extinction cues, cues that I'm not going to get the thing I used to get for engaging in this behavior. That seems pretty complicated. Well, it gets more complicated because I can not only engage in one behavior, at any point in time in the world I can engage in one behavior, or at least two. I can engage in this behavior or that behavior. I can stand here or I can stand here. And each of those behaviors is going to be paired with its own reinforcer. Never mind the fact that there may be aversive consequences to the actions I engage in. And then we have to consider setting events, learning history, and organismic variables. That's in relation to a single instance of behavior. It is a very brief snapshot in the totality of what is a person's life. I've engineered behavior. I'm a behavior analyst. And as you can see, I'm a very quiet behavior analyst. Okay? So I had a little boy. Let's call him Johnny. All right? And Johnny loved playing in the plastic ball pit. You guys, any of you work with individuals who enjoy playing in the plastic ball pit? Oh, this kaleidoscope of multicolored goodness. Right? It's fun. Thousands of balls, multicolors you can play. Well, Johnny did what he had to do, which was not be aggressive for 2 days. And we took him to McDonald's to go into the ball pit. Okay? And so he gets in there and we were praising him. You did so good. You've used your words all week. You know, kept your hands to yourself. We're so proud of you. You can get to go play in the ball pit. So he goes and he starts playing in the ball pit in all his glory. And then these interlopers come in. These other things we call small children. All right? And the small children, yeah, they get closer and closer and closer. And they jump into the ball pit. And he does exactly what the speech path, the teacher, the mom, and the behavior analyst want him to do. He uses his words. And you know what he says? Don't touch my balls. I've engineered some behavior. You guys, we have a chance to make such a substantial difference in the lives of other people by engineering behavior. The craziest thing for me is that teachers and parents, we take, when my sons were playing baseball yesterday, when my son made a spectacular play, it's because I've coached him up in the outfield and, you know, practiced with him another time. When he strikes out, he needs a hitting lesson because he's not trying hard enough, right? We must, if we take credit for people's successes, we must also take credit for their failures. But we can engineer behavior. How? First, we need to reinforce. I did want to talk about reinforcement today because it's probably the most bastardized concept out there with respect to applied behavior analysis. One of the things we say, one of the things we hear is, there is no reinforcer for that person's behavior. All behavior is reinforced. Even if we don't know what the reinforcer is, there is something out there that's reinforced the behavior. That reinforcer could be internal. It could be an internal feel-good. But there is a reinforcer to behavior. Reinforcers are consequences. They are not bribes. I get told all the time, well, you want me to bribe the kid. No, a bribe is something you give someone prior to their action in order to get them to do something illegal. All right? I don't remember the last time I bribed someone. Maybe I bribed Kim for that wonderful introduction. There we go. We need to reinforce. The big key about reinforcers, it's individualized. And as much as behavior analysts may take credit for things, who do you think we learn what reinforcers are relevant to that person? We learn it from all of you. Okay? You are so critical to the success. You are the agents of change. All right. All things being equal, the greater the effort, the less likely the behavior. This holds true whether we are talking about our teachers and when we ask something of them, of our paraprofessionals, when we demand that they run a new plan, whether we ask for data collection, and it matters for our children when we ask them to do something new. This is a behavioral axiom. It is a truth. All things being equal, the greater the response effort, the less likely the behavior. If you're going to ask more of someone, whether it is a colleague, whether it is a child, understand you have to increase reinforcement. Understand that there's going to be some bumps in the road and some problem behaviors when you extend effort, which is why, again, Dr. Scott was talking about when we start building behavior, when we start engineering behavior, build it up slowly. All right. Optimize less than optimal teaching environments. I work for the public school system in Brevard County. You know why I do? Because it is hard to work in home. Again, how many parents do we have in here? Don't you love when the behavior analysts come in and we start trying to structure the day in your lives and tell you what to do and everything, and there's your dog and your siblings, you know, the children, and the husband who doesn't do the laundry, according to Dr. Scott, okay? Got news for you. This husband, he's doing the laundry, all right? He had the no kitchen zone For children with autism, I think my wife is following that rule. All right, great. Optimize less optimal teaching methods. It is difficult sometimes to teach, and one of the things that's challenging for all of us is we have problem behavior occur in a crowded classroom with 10 children and 2 assistants and the teacher, and we come in to help. That may not be an optimal teaching environment. One of the things we have to continue to remember is sometimes it is good to teach in isolation. Sometimes it is good to teach a discrete skill where a few distractors are present, then bring the individual back into the environment, okay, to do some generalization. We have to make sure we try to create environments that are optimal, that there's lots of reinforcers in the environment, that there are lots of choices given, right? Because teaching is hard work. That's why I don't teach. All right. Motivating operations. Motivation shifts. It shifts for all of us. If everybody in here is happy and I feed you chocolate cake, okay, and you all exit the hall when all the other speakers are done and Card has laid out these beautiful chocolate cakes for everybody, most of you are not going to approach, bend over, and eat more chocolate cake. You're going to be satiated or full. At the same time, by the time you're done listening to me, most of you are going to find getting up and walking pretty reinforcing. Probably silence as well. But in any event, you're going to find, again, your motivation wanes. It fluctuates. It changes. Keep this in mind. It's impossible to use water as a reinforcer if someone has just had an entire bottle of water. Reinforcers shift and they change. It is not a stagnant idea. Kim said, and this is true, I am annoyingly optimistic. All right? I smile a whole lot. All right, why? Because you're going to win more flies with honey than you are with vinegar. We need to be conscientious of the words we use. I enjoyed Dr. Kluth's presentation the other day to no end because she started her presentation talking about the fact, when we're talking about the idea of inclusion, we have to frame it for people. We have to frame things in a positive vein. That's her book itself was going to make me go buy her book. You're going to love this kid. You have a child with difficult behaviors, with very staunch advocates as parents, with a storied history and long case files. Walk up to the teacher, the assistant, the parent. I'm going to enjoy working with your child. Beware of extinction. Behavior analysis is a science, and science evolves. For years, we made extinction our fallback procedure. All right, when the child's tantruming, like Dr. Scott was talking about, the child getting onto the car who won't put a seatbelt on. I'll be honest with you, that's where I would run extinction. We're going to withhold starting that car and moving and starting the radio till that seatbelt gets clicked. But in many cases, when we as behavior analysts advocate for extinction, I want all of you to know where the research is going. It's suggesting that unless you can guarantee that each and every behavior the child you're helping engages in, unless you can guarantee that the reinforcer you gave them is withheld, this isn't going to work. So be cautious when behavior analysts, okay, or any other team members say, we're going to use extinction. Extinction technically is the withholding of a reinforcer. Some people were taught that it's ignoring. It's not. It's ignoring if I'm the child who tantrums for attention, and you come over and say, it's going to be okay, don't worry about it, okay? And then you stop coming over and comforting me when I tantrum, that is extinction. But extinction can be, I ask you to do math, okay? You throw your pencil. Some people will put that child in timeout. Timeout's a reinforcer if you're trying to get out of math. So the best thing I can do is have a pencil in my back pocket and go, you still have to do your math. Let's do one problem. Let's just get one number on the paper and then you can take a break. Extinction is the withholding of reinforcers. But be conscientious and be understanding that when behavior analysts say it's because they've used it for years. It's because it's what's in the literature, but it doesn't always work. Warn about improvement. You guys know who we are. Behavior analysts like data. We've talked, and I said a few times in here today. It is a very small snippet into a person's life. Progress, as you guys know, comes incredibly slowly. It is born of blood, sweat, tears, and hard work. All right? So the improvement we talk about with parents, with our husbands and our wives, with our teens, we've got to start talking about we're going to improve, but then this improvement could take time. One of my favorite articles ever in the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis actually has to do with a young girl who was diabetic, and she was checking her blood sugar over 100 times a day. It cost the parents $100 a day for the steri strips. It's least inaccurate. Blood glucose readings, all kinds of things. In one of the hallmark articles in our field, they successfully brought her down from checking her blood sugar on average of 90 to 100 times a day to below 12, which is the recommendation from the American Academy of Pediatricians. It took them 10 months to get her there. All right, 10 months. Nothing good comes easily, my friends. Forge ties. When we are talking about individuals who are having problematic behavior, we can get back to this, again, harmonious relationship if I am not telling you to do that versus we are talking about the person we're trying to help. The other thing is, and this is where Kim probably got the positive thing, I refuse to start a meeting without saying something nice about the person who we're talking about. I get blindsided just like all of you guys do. I get brought into a meeting and they're bringing me this young girl, Jane, and Jane's this incredibly problematic, loud, aggressive student, and I get brought to the meeting because everyone's in a tiff and I don't even know what Jane looks like. That happened to me 13 years ago. I went to a meeting about a little girl and the parent looked at me. It was a very adversarial meeting. I was just yet another person who was trying to, kick the kid out of school according to what the parent thought. And she said to me, "Do you even know what my child looks like?" And I said, "No." And I said, "I'll never go to another meeting again where I don't know what a student looks like. Never." Because I can start that meeting by saying, "Oh yeah, Jane, she likes to wear very beautiful scarves." Jane's my mother, by the way. She's here in the audience. All right. Demand data. Demand it. It is, the data, we really should, the autism spectrum community and behavior analysis, I think we do have a good relationship, but again, it's been tested over the years. And one of the problems is, we're not being asked for the thing that we work hardest to get, which is good data. I do think our relationship is about mutual respect. Data is verification of that respect. It says you understand what I need to do my job, and I can be better because I know the way things are going. I don't leave it to supposition and to speculation. All right. You guys know what that is? It's nothing to do with autism. Okay, it's with blood cells. My oldest son has hemophilia. It's an X-linked genetic bleeding disorder. My son can get a nosebleed and he can die. Okay? In fact, he almost did when he was a child. When we go to Nemours Children's Clinic and we check in with his doctors and see how his medication works, do you think I allow the nurses and the doctors to look at me and say, "Yeah, I think he's doing great"? No, I let them tell me that does his factor count, which is 4, normal being 100, 4, okay? Does the factor bring his count up to where his body will clot, okay? Because if it doesn't, we're going to go back to the starting point and find the right medication that does. You all should hold us to that standard. You should hold your schools to that standard, all right? You should demand data. The bottom line is a behavior analyst is not a catalyst, it's not the agent of change. We're not. We are role players. It is you guys who are in this audience. You all are the agents of change. We are merely catalysts. All right? And I think if behavior analysts, if we can continue to understand that we are not the axis around which your world spins, I think we'll be more effective professionals for you guys. Now, I don't know that I go up and say that to a behavior analyst necessarily. You can see from my earlier slides, behavior analysts have, shall we say, healthy self-esteem. All right. Love what Dr. Clue said the other day. Most people are looking for miracles. They are looking for epiphanies. They are looking for signs. And they are spending time staring outside their window looking for a burning bush. Okay? My mother told me years ago, she said, one of the problems in today's society is we don't silence ourselves and we don't listen. We are looking for unbelievably massive signs of positive change for our children when the changes come very small and very, very subtly. All right? I hope that we continue to appreciate those small changes. All right? Let me tell you something. There's an entire book on fad treatments. It is voluminous. It is hundreds and hundreds of pages about the different types of fad treatments that are out there, okay, for individuals in the autism spectrum. As you guys are praying There are communities that are preying upon you. All right? They're going to come to you with smiles. They're going to come to you with open arms. They're going to come to you with credentials. They're going to promise you everything, and they're going to deliver very, very little. All right? Behavior analysts, we don't promise you the rose garden. All right? We do understand that the ultimate outcome for individuals are about where they aspire to get to. What are their hopes and dreams and aspirations, and how can we help teach behaviors that are steps towards those goals? But please, please be aware that, again, before I die, I guarantee you two things. I'm 45 years old, and God willing, I'm going to live another 45 healthy, wonderful years. I'm going to continue to be touched by the lives of people like you who are out there fighting the good fight. But there are going to be fad treatments, and I'm going to go to my death before they ever find a cause and a cure for this thing called autism. We are looking for simple solutions to a very complex problem. And it doesn't mean I'm without hope. Again, it's the exact opposite. From all that we know about education, all that we know about speech-language pathology, occupational therapy, physical therapy, and behavior analysis, we have a legitimate chance to make people's lives wonderful. There is great beauty in the awkward, idiosyncratic, and mercurial nature of autism. The bottom line is, you guys are the miracle. And these small, subtle changes, those are the miracles that matter. Those are the things that matter to the individual. All right? Go out there and be the miracle. Thanks.